Good. We'll wait a couple of seconds for Alan. Or did he move down?
No, Alan's down there.
Okay, he's down there. All right, there we go. All right, well, okay, we'd like to go ahead and welcome you all to our Riverdale City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. Please let the record show that we have Councilor Hanson and Councilor Stevens present. We also have members of the city staff as well as many members of the public with us. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be offered by Councilor Hanson tonight.
Please rise. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll offer our invocation tonight. Our Heavenly Father, as we gather together tonight at this City Council meeting, we give thanks for the many blessings that we enjoy, for the country that we live in, and for the beautiful city that we live in, and for the freedoms that we enjoy. And we ask at this time that Thou would bless us as we make decisions, that we might do so in the best interest of our residents, that we might be thoughtful and be inspired to see all the impacts that our decisions would have, and that we might be able to do those things that would be most beneficial. We ask a special blessing on the residents of our city as this new year begins, that they might have the things that they need, that they might be watched over and protected, and that they might have a safe and prosperous year. We also ask a blessing upon the employees of our city, that as they go about their duties, that they will be watched over and protected as well, and they might find joy in their work with the city, and that they might see blessings in their own lives as they work. We also ask a blessing upon the Hilton family at this time as they are struggling with the loss of Councilor Hilton, and we ask that Thou would bless them with the comfort of Thy Spirit, and please bless us all that we might be able to remember Councilor Hilton and the good example he was to each of us. We're grateful once again for the many blessings that we enjoy, and we offer this prayer in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, we're going to change the agenda just slightly. We decided that we don't have enough council members to proceed with our meeting if we don't get our new guys sworn in. So we're going to go ahead and get our newly elected council members sworn in. Who would we like to start with, Mr. Brooks?
Probably Mr. Arnold.
Okay.
Get him up first.
All right. Councilor Arnold, do you take care of that, Ms. Maragoni? Have anybody to take a picture or two?
I got him.
Got it, okay. Well, we'll get some real pictures then, too. Yeah. Just for the social media, website, Twitter, all that stuff, and newsletter, yeah.
I, Alan Arnold, do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Utah,
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Councilor Arnold. We'll now have Councilor Richter, Councilor-elect Richter, come up.
I state your name.
I, Michael Rickard,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah.
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
And I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
All right. Welcome, Councilor Richter. We would invite you to take your place up on the stand with us. All right, we'll now move on to public comment. This is an opportunity to address the City Council regarding your concerns or ideas. No action will be taken during the public comment. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and the city that you reside in, and try to keep your comments to approximately 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to presentations and reports. We'll start with the mayor's report. I don't have a lot for tonight, but one thing that is coming up this on Thursday, the 11th, is the Weber County Legislative Breakfast. It's at 7 a.m. It's an opportunity for elected officials to go have breakfast with some of the other members of the county. Also, they try to get the elected officials, our representatives and senators there from the county. It's a good time to kind of touch base, maybe get a face-to-face meeting with them, and just so they get to recognize you a little bit. That's right before the new legislative session kicks off, and it's a good time to kind of rub shoulders. If you are able to attend that, reach out to me. They would like us to RSVP by the 5th, and I can get you in contact with the lady at the county that will take care of that. I'm not sure where they'll have that. Sometimes it's at the Eccles Conference Center. It's usually right there in Ogden somewhere, or maybe the Weaver Center. But I would really strongly encourage any of you to go that can. That's all I have for the mayor's report. Number 2, City Council assignment reports. Any reports on your assignments for this meeting? Okay. The next, we wanted to have a tribute to Councilor Steve Hilton. I wanted to say a few words. We thought it was fitting that as he would have been joining us up here on the stand, that we would maybe recognize him. He would have been sworn in, again tonight as well. And so I jotted a few things down. I apologize because I'm going to read this. I don't want to leave anything out. So I'll just go ahead and share my thoughts. It's with heavy hearts that we say farewell to a remarkable individual, a devoted public servant, and a cherished member of our community. He left a lasting mark on our city, and his legacy of service will be remembered for many years. Councilor Hilton diligently served our community with dedication and a passion for the well-being of our citizens. He approached each decision with thoughtfulness, integrity, and a genuine concern for the welfare of Riverdale and its residents. His knowledge concerning public safety issues will be greatly missed. Beyond Councilor Hilton's professional accomplishments, he was known for his kindness, approachability, and willingness to listen. He understood the importance of engaging with the community, making every effort to connect with residents and address their concerns. Steve was not just a public figure. He was a neighbor and a friend. As I reflected on our relationship, I realized just how close we had become. I will deeply miss his company at the semi-annual League of Cities and Towns conferences. Many times it would be just the two of us going around to all the vendors to see how much free stuff we could get. We'd pretend like we were interested in whatever they were selling or saying, and he would talk to him and I would load up my bag as fast as I could, and then the next one I would talk to him and he'd load up his. It was quite a system we had. And he never made me feel cheap or dumb for doing it. He was a great partner. During his memorial service, his brother mentioned that one of the great gifts that Steve possessed was the ability to make people feel approval. I couldn't agree more with this statement. He was truly one of the kindest people I've ever met. He always made me feel like I was making him proud somehow. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's just what it felt like. He was very supportive of me, and I guess the best way to describe it is that he made me feel like he approved of what I was doing. During this time of grief, let us remember Councilor Hilton for the positive impact he had on our lives and the community we all call home. His Spirit will continue to guide us as we strive to build upon the foundation He worked to establish. I know he was very excited about his reelection and was excited to continue serving the residents of Riverdale. As I listened to them being sworn in, Ms. Maragoni at the end said that they would discharge their duties of office with fidelity, and that's exactly what Steve did. We intentionally left Councillor Hilton's seat empty tonight with his nameplate in place in remembrance of Steve. Hopefully each of us can keep a spot in our hearts to remember him and the example he was to all of us. Our deepest condolences go out to Councillor Hilton's family, friends, and colleagues during this difficult time. May we find solace in the memories of a life well lived and a legacy that will endure. All right. Thank you for sharing Steve with us. I know there's a lot of time he probably would have rather been home with you guys, and you would have rather had him home.
Or a movie.
Or at the movie, yeah, with his cousin. Anyway, thank you.
Mayor, I told Laura that we would give her his name tag
Okay.
tonight. So
Yeah.
we already gave her the ones from the planning commission, but I wanted to save this one till tonight. Mayor, if I could just add just couple quick things. I hate funerals probably as much as anything, but I'll tell you what, Steve's was it was clearly the best one I've ever been to in my life. The words of his cousin had me on the floor numerous times, but the presentation by his daughters was amazing. I just was stunned. So my congratulations, not only for that, but just Steve was such a good man, and he did love the city, but he loved his family more than anything. So it's a tribute to you guys, and I know he was in heaven smiling. So well done, and thank you for sharing him with us. So thank you.
All right. We're going to try and move on and have a meeting now. Yeah. If I was you, I would leave. It's going to get real boring now, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll now move on to the consent items.
Becky, you can't leave.
Oh, yeah.
You're not part of the family. Okay, you can go. I'm just kidding.
But you do have to watch from home. Like. Thank you.
It was a good joke in the beginning, you know.
Okay, we'll move on to our consent items. Number 1, consideration to approve the meeting minutes from the December 5th, 2023 council work session and the December 5th, 2023 council meeting. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion or corrections to be made to those minutes? Seeing none, a motion would be in order for that. Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve those meeting minutes as you mentioned.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Consent item number 2, advice and consent regarding the reappointment of planning commissioners Celeste Nolan and Randy Polson. Mr. Eggett, do you want to say anything with this, or?
Mayor and council, I just want to let you know that I'm very pleased with this ratification. These are the two most junior planning commissioners. They took over one, I think, early last year and one about mid-year. Does that sound about right? And they have been awesome. Like, you couldn't ask for better planning commissioners. If you wanted planning commissioners, these two know what they're talking about. They ask the right questions. They're very cordial. They research well. I'm very happy and very proud that you're wanting to appoint these two because these two are great. And I'm happy, and I think that when I say I'm happy, I think they fit really well with the planning commission, and they'll be a great dynamic for the planning commission for the next 4 years and for your community in this position. So thank you for that selection.
And I just want to add that I'm super grateful that they're willing to serve. I think we have just two top-notch people here. As we're going to see later in our agenda, the responsibility of the planning commission is growing, and there's a much greater responsibility than when I was on the planning commission, and I just couldn't be happier. I mentioned to the whole commission that I think we have the best we've ever had, and so it's, with my whole endorsement that we would approve this. So we need a motion.
Is it you want one, both names in one, or one
Do
for
you have
each
something,
name?
Steve? Or-
I'd probably mention, just state them both, just so we give them the proper recognition on something like that. As far as
Each.
So two
yeah,
motions?
yeah,
The motions, yeah. So the first one would be, we would just start with Planning Commissioner Celeste Nolan first. Councilor Arnold?
So I don't know if we move to approve, with the
Consent?
advice and move to consent.
Yeah.
yeah. Just I would vote yes or no on the consent for each.
The
but
reappointment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that we would approve the consent for Celeste Nolan as in the next term on the planning commission.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Okay. Motion to second. Any discussion on that? All in favor say yes.
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 Okay. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. Okay. And then for Mr. Randy Polson.
I'll make the motion that we approve and consent the reappointment of Randy Polson as a planning commissioner for this next term.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? All right. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, perfect. That's unanimous as well. Oh, Councilor Arnold.
I'd just like to say thank you for going to the events. I think being a part of that, that's a big deal. To see you there and talk with you and just the support there. It's really a good thing. So thank you.
All right, very good. Okay, we'll now move on to our action items. Number 1, consideration of ordinance 976 approving the proposed changes to Riverdale City Code Title 8, Chapter 6, transfer of water rights. Mr. Sean Douglas.
Thank you, Mayor. So as we discussed in the planning meeting, just the changes are needed to follow our new landscape ordinance and to make sure that we're trying to extract the right amount of water for new developments that are coming in. So if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Douglas? Councilor Arnold?
I think just if anybody's watching or with the notes or anything like that, to refer to the notes from the planning meeting that we talked about, and I would move to approve ordinance 976 as stated within the packet.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Stevens?
Yes.
Counselor Richter?
Yes.
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
All right, that passes unanimously. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas, for all your work on that. Action item number 2, consideration of ordinance 977, approving proposed changes to the Riverdale City Code Title 10, Chapter 21, subdivisions, as requested by the Community Development Department and required by the state of Utah. Mr. Mike Eggett.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note the key points. Again, we had a good discussion, I think, in the work session, at least explaining what's going on here. But this is per guidance, not guidance, mandatory direction of Senate Bill 174 from the last legislative session in 2023. It amends 8 land use codes and adds 6 new land use codes to city and county code. That's how comprehensive this was. There are other changes forthcoming that I'll bring forward at a later date as I'm required to do so. That being said, we're part of the first wave as a result of being in a first or second class county, city located in those counties. So we have to have this update approved by February 1st, 2024. We've had assistance from law firm Smith Hartvickson PLLC, which we've greatly appreciated, and that has been funded by the state of Utah funding to get this code to be in compliance. So no cost to Riverdale City for those services. I didn't note that in the work session, so that's a huge benefit for us. State of Utah is paying the tab on that work. This did come before the Planning Commission on December 12th for consideration. There was a public hearing element that is required for any proposed code amendments. The public hearing was advertised in accordance with state and city code, and there were no comments provided prior to or during the meeting for those code updates. At the conclusion of the discussion and presentation, the Planning Commission recommended City Council approval with the note of the comments that were provided by the Smith-Hartvickson attorney present. Those comments have been adjusted and amended per direction of the Planning Commission, and what's found in your packet is the final document that has further been I guess you would say endorsed would be the right word by Smith-Hartvickson PLLC as meeting in full compliance and they're in full support of what is found in your packet. So with that, I would turn it over to the City Council Mayor if you have any questions for me or to move forward accordingly. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Eggett? Thank you for all of your work on that. I know that's been a long process. The Planning Commission put a lot of work into it. So thank you.
It was a beast.
Yeah, it really was. Councilor Arnold.
Move to approve ordinance 977 with the changes that Mr. Eggett noted in the work session.
Yes, that I will change the italics and do a small grammatical change to request it spell it correctly. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll probably pass, and that's fine. No, it's not fine. But I really have an axe to grind when the state legislature mandates and dictates that cities do things, and then the city council has to approve it. So I won't vote to approve it, and if others want to join, hey, great. But it's a nothing against you. It's you are doing your job. My beef is with the legislature. Thank you.
Comments? Councilor Arnold.
Let's remember that it's mandated by the state. The state gives us our powers. And I understand, we can be defiant all we want, but let's not pass this and see where it goes. Let's all band together and see where this slaps us in the face. That's ridiculous.
Okay. Any other comments? Ms. Maragoni, will you please poll the council?
Counselor Arnold?
Yes.
Counselor Hanson?
Yes.
Counselor Stevens?
No.
Counselor Richter?
Yes.
Okay, that passes with 3 in favor and 1 against. We'll now move on to the comments section of our meeting. Any comments from the city council for this meeting?
Are we planning on doing the picture next week then for the upcoming year?
That's a great question. Let's all get on the same page.
Be prepared for that?
One other item that we may need to discuss is
Let me just talk about that. I was thinking, I'm trying to remember what Chris said to me today. I think he was planning on the first meeting in February because of the delay and whatnot. I think he wanted to do it that next meeting.
Okay.
Because we'll just make the
picture
appointment
or the
on the next.
picture?
Yeah, the group portrait. We'll do that the first meeting
because
in
we
February.
will be doing other things next meeting.
Right,
Making
and
a
we've got to go
decision.
through that whole appointment process. And I think there was something else, I can't remember what it was, but there was a reason why he wanted to request that first meeting in February. So let's plan on that one instead of the next meeting. Even though we will have that person on board, we'll take the picture the next meeting.
And do we have a set list of questions we're asking next week or next meeting?
All that stuff's been put together in that packet that once we get those compiled and stuff, we'll distribute all those out to you.
Okay.
Just like we did the last time,
So
same
it's
process.
The mayor, just for my edification, mayor doesn't vote,
That's correct.
and is it 2 questions or 1 question per council member, and it has to be,
If I remember right, we had that set of questions that was part of the packet, and then I think we gave you
We got the-
2
we got
questions
their-
your own.
we got their responses, we got copies of the response.
Right.
And then we could ask a question or 2, what was it, 2 questions?
I think we did 2 questions last time,
And it
yeah.
had to be for the same question for each person.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll follow the exact same process we did on that one. Same way, except that I don't think we draw cards
remember
now.
how
I
we
think
did
we
it,
flip a
Mike?
coin.
Yeah, let's
I,
not have a
I
tie.
read it this week, so it's exactly how I read it.
Yeah.
And so the state dictated it's a coin toss, not a,
They felt it was too close to gambling by using cards, so
Oh, we did have to change that?
I think that got changed in. They had a couple of changes in that whole code section. I actually sat on that committee and made some recommendations on those things. That was one of the things that they were a little bit concerned about, is they felt that it was too close to gambling, and we're in a non-gambling state. So they went to coin tosses, or
Somehow not gambling?
I don't know, Annie. I'm just following the
dice.
code.
No dice, no cards.
so just as a thought, I mean, so say for example, we have 6 people put their names in the hat and we vote, and two people go for one person and one goes for another and one goes for another. Do they all move on like last time? Because last time we had 3 individual votes. Or does that one person win with 2 votes?
I
I think the person with 2 votes would win.
No, it's
Had a
you
tie.
have to have a
yeah,
quorum.
because it does
You
say
have to
there's
have a
2
direct-
rounds that you have to do. I think the top 2 move on from the first round and move into the second round, and then we do it
If you
again.
have 4 individual votes, the 4 go in. So
Yeah.
anybody with a
Correct.
vote move forward.
Yeah, if the
Correct.
other 3 are tied, then they still would all move
They all
forward
go.
again.
There's not a
Yeah.
majority. If you don't have, if I read it right, you don't have a majority with
Right,
2.
right. That's how it was. So you'll end up doing 2 rounds most likely, would be my guess. But
Unless somebody's unanimous.
right.
Or 3. A 3 would still.
3 and 1.
Or if nobody applies.
3 and 1 would work. 1 and 1
We already have
right?
one applicant, so
3
we
and
know
1,
that.
The 3 has the
Wins.
majority and wins.
No second round.
Yeah, super majority.
And we have 1 applicant so far.
As of Friday, we had 1. I don't know if we got any more.
But he hasn't brought it back yet.
Oh, he didn't bring him back? Okay.
When does it
yeah,
end?
we have none.
11.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Are
right.
we gonna have much of agenda next time, or is that?
I know we have one thing on there. I don't know that it'll be huge because that one will take up a fair amount of time, but we'll try not to make it too large because we got to focus on that and get them done first. So
And that's the first thing we do?
I would,
Yeah.
yeah. Then that person will be sworn in, and they'll be able to participate in anything
Okay,
else.
so hypothetically, the scenario, we have, say, 3 people, a 2, a 1, and a 1. So do 3 people go to the next round?
I remember it.
And then if
top,
you don't, then after the second round, if it's still 2, 1, and 1, you still don't have a majority. So do you eliminate 1 and then do it again?
I would have to go
Odds and evens. I
look
don't
at
know.
that. The way I remembered that is the winner on the second, because I think we tied on the second round last time, and then we had to go to the
And
card.
that's exactly right, because we did have, it went down to 2, but in theory, you could have a 1, 1, and 2, or 4, and so if you have 3 or more, then what's the plan?
The only reason I'm a little bit hesitant because I haven't looked at it in light of the new changes, and I don't want to say something that might be incorrect from the last time we did this a couple years ago. We'll get updated on that and be ready to go on that one. I'll reread that because I'm not sure if they made any of those changes, if that still stays the same as it was in that part of it, because they tweaked a bunch of those little,
I
but
mean,
they
doing
were
the
little
cards,
things.
you could do it with 3 people. Each 3 people draw a card. That's not hard, but with the coin toss.
We'll let you know
So will
that.
you publish that in the packet?
what part.
So
Yeah.
the applications and how it's going to go, so people
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
we
of it
will.
will be published.
Yeah.
Okay, which brings me, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Oh, yeah.
Last time, there was something where there was reservations about putting the applications in the packet, and then they removed, then they were added to the packet, because was there some personal in the application? I can't remember, but they're in the they were in the packet.
Yeah. Part
They
of it,
came out in a-
there was
in amended.
there was personal information that we wouldn't normally divulge because it is a public record, but we required that. We request that in the packet, but some of that stuff we will take out.
Wasn't
Okay.
it the names in the packet, and then we got the application in a separate.
I feel like that's what we did.
think
Put
that's
the
what we did,
names.
yeah.
I think they got just the.
So we
Yeah.
got
And I sent all of you guys all of
the hard
all of the-
copies.
So we got hard copies from you because there was a back and forth, and then we destroyed them afterwards. But
Yeah.
and I can't anyway.
It's hard to remember.
Didn't they ask him some questions up front or
We're gonna get
something?
it together. If this
Yeah, there's
doesn't
some in
happen
that
every
packet.
time-
Yeah,
Yeah, but they answer up front.
correct.
And so, this, yeah, just the sooner we can get these guys all the information they can have, like, the better.
Yeah.
Because
We'll jump on that. That's why we set that 11th date, because that gave us enough time to jump on that and have that out quick enough that you guys can get a chance to look it all out.
I do have the code pulled up if you want me to read it.
I mean, you're welcome to. As far as that part, the coin toss
but why
goes.
don't you read it real quick? It's not that long, is it?
So I'm going to skip the part about the notice. It says the body shall take an initial vote to fill a vacancy. If no candidate receives a majority vote of the body, and two candidates that receive the most vote shall be placed before the municipal legislative body for a second vote to fill the vacancy. So if there's a tie, if there's two people, if there's a tie, you do a second vote, and then if there's still a tie, then we do the coin toss.
That's got a lot of problems, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yes, because you could have 4 people or 3 people with the two anyway.
But it says the majority of
says-
the body. So if you had 2, 1, and 1,
If the initial vote results in a tie for second place, the candidates tied for second place shall be reduced to 1 by a coin toss.
Oh,
Okay.
So that's new.
All right.
okay.
And then the second vote shall be between the candidate that received the most votes and the candidate that wins the coin toss.
That fixes that then. So if it's 2-1-1, what about 1-1-1-4-1s? Is it just a flipping contest? Like,
Let's hope only one person applies.
yeah.
jousting.
We'll bring a lot of coins.
Max.
We'll get through it.
Okay, so that fixes that a little bit, though.
Stop at the Riverdale part and get the LARPers in here. They'll settle it.
Then it also says if the initial vote results in a tie among 3 or more candidates for first place, candidates tied for first place shall be reduced to 2 by a coin toss. And then the second vote, what? I don't think that makes sense. If the initial vote is in a tie among 3 or more candidates for first place, the candidates tied for first place shall be reduced to 2 by a coin toss. And the second vote shall be between the 2 candidates that remain after the coin toss is completed.
How do you
So it's
coin
like all
toss?
coin
3?
toss if there's any.
Odd and even?
That's too much coin tossing.
Or 2 and 1? Or
There shouldn't be
You're gonna
We
catch
should
it. You're
vote
gonna
it
you're gonna
down.
let it hit the ground.
if you have,
I
2,
suggest
1,
you
and 1,
let
I
it
think
hit
just
the
the
ground.
one's coin
Add
toss.
4.
Probably will.
4
And
would
it'll
be,
roll.
Got to eliminate 2.
It doesn't roll. It bounces.
just do 2 and 2.
Hey, they
2
do
and
it
2,
every
I think. You
football
against
game.
you and you against you.
You could also look up online.
So
There's a lot of
if
weird-
there's two, if there's 4, you just go these 2 and these 2 coin tosses.
That's what I would think. We'll check with the lieutenant governor's office too and get this all clarified on some of those weird
Send
things.
in a referee that's got like black shirts and
Yeah.
stripes and stuff.
I'll let you know how it goes on Thursday
Are you doing something up in
in fielding
Are you?
building?
Are you doing one up there?
for all 3 spots.
For what?
For the 3,
They didn't have anybody run?
they all got ejected. We're still in the meeting. Sorry, it's off
Ejected?
topic.
Oh wow!
But yeah,
That'll
let's-
be
let's conclude. I
Great,
gotta hear
great
this.
comments for after. All right, that was a good discussion. Thank you for the information. That is good for us to all that little refresher. Any other comments from the city council? Pictures first week of February. Comments from the city staff.
Just quickly, there is an RSAC graduation on Thursday for anybody who might be interested in that. That'll be at 1:00 down here in the courtroom. We have 3 graduates from the Riverdale substance abuse class. Mike, you might not be familiar with it. We have a misdemeanor drug court that we perform here in Riverdale City. So we have 3 graduates. Anybody that wants to come to that, you're more than welcome. And they usually have some snacks and stuff afterwards, and they'll have a speaker and stuff. They're usually
What
pretty
date is
good
that?
and entertaining. What's that?
What date?
That's Thursday the 4th at 1:00. So just in 2 days. And the other things are kind of related to what we already talked about. We have a program. I don't know how many of you know this. I'm pretty sure Mike won't, but we have what's called on the spot awards that department heads or supervisors are able to give out. I'm really bad at doing this, mainly just because I don't remember. But there are occasions when those things arise and present themselves, and I actually had two of them tonight. Ironically, I obviously didn't want to do one without the other one, but when we talked about the amount of work that Mike put into that ordinance, and it's for doing something above and beyond what they would normally do, and I think that's kind of why I look at this like, well, that's our jobs, that's what we do. This ordinance was not something that we would normally do. I think in my whole career, this is probably one of the biggest ones I've ever seen as far as just drastic changes. And Mike grabbed this thing really early on, took this by the horns and ran with it. And so we were fairly far into the process before the legislature even came out and told us what law firms we could use to help us with this stuff, ironically. And Adam Long, our RDA attorney, his firm happened to be one of those, so it was kind of an easy selection for us to go with them, and it wasn't Adam, but one of his associates there. But when Mike sent that to her, she was kind of caught off guard because he was so far advanced compared to everybody else. And Mike gives her a lot of credit, but in reality, I think she was learning from Mike and some of the changes that he had made and we had made as staff and stuff in getting this thing done. And there was some things that she told him he needed to do, and he pushed back on it. She ended up changing her whole philosophy with how we were doing it. And so he actually took our statute and then ran down our statute, so it was still somewhat related. But there was a lot of work. When you're finding what the legislature says and you plug it into ours somewhere, and you got to keep track of all this stuff, this was excessive, way beyond what any of us ever have to do. So I wanted to give Mike an on-the-spot award for that because it was incredible what he did on that. And last but not least, Mayor Mitchell brought this one up, so this will be our segue into this thing. And it's kind of ironic because Chief Warren, they keep me advised on these things. And I knew the mayor was out of town up hunting, and I didn't really want to bug him. But you should have seen our parking lot on Friday, man. We had news crews all day long, and they wouldn't leave. You could go out and tell them, hey, we don't have anything new for you, and we're staying here. This was on the foreign exchange student who was allegedly kidnapped here in
There's
River.
a tripod out there still.
Is there?
Is it really out there?
But
Somebody's ready to go.
this thing, and I don't know why it's always holidays, Christmas and New Year's, these run every year here in Riverdale. And what we forget is Casey is an exempt employee. And so he's working around the clock with very little sleep and no extra money on this kind of thing. So my on-the-spot award is actually kind of embarrassing that I'm giving him a $25 on-the-spot award. But it's more the fact of just thanks to Casey because he didn't, and he'll give all the credit to his guys, which they deserve, no questions. But there's somebody that was there the whole time and that was spearheading this, and it was Casey. And so I wanted to recognize him for that as well. From start to finish, he did not leave this thing, and it was a long, long, long weekend. And finally, when I got the picture and I see this 10, I'm just going, thank goodness. And that's when I finally notified the mayor because I didn't want to bug him. Well, it was on the heels of getting notification of the shooting we had in Riverdale. So I didn't want to bug him because I knew he was having his hunting. But at that point, I'm thinking, I've got to tell him what's going on down here. All hell's breaking loose. So, Casey, congratulations to you, and thanks for all the work. And wonderful job again. Just incredible police work. This is bizarre. This is something new. There's actually a term for this, these cyber kidnappings. And it's amazing. This is an incredible system that these bad guys have. And for our guys to take this and run with it and find this guy, and for the most part for it to turn out the way it did was incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. I don't know that anybody in Utah has faced this thing yet. So just amazing stuff happening in our police department. So kudos to him as well. So thanks, Casey.
Can you give a follow-up where we can ask you questions?
City staff. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, come on up. Come on up. Turn on the microphone. Let's have a little bit of city staff comment.
Can I just ask, I read one blurb and you were talking about a multi-agencies, the FBI and other agencies, among other things. How many people got involved because of this?
Realistically, most
Is that
of the
mic on, Casey? Up. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Sorry. Most of the work, the boots on the ground stuff, realistically was Riverdale Police Department and Weber County Search and Rescue with their drones. And then the DPS was good. Now, the FBI, They were a great resource where we were able to use them to get the accounts in China that the money was sent to confirm that money was actually sent and that it was sent to China. So that was a big help. And then they also kind of briefed us, we're talking to them on the phone. They're kind of more of a resource. They didn't necessarily come out and put the boots on the ground. At one point, we had one of them come out and do a little bit of interpreting during one of our interrogations. But there was a lot of resources, but most of the man hours and the footwork was done by our guys here, our police department here in Riverdale. They worked tirelessly around the clock. I mean, one of our guys was out 36 hours straight. I just finally said, go home. And he came back 3 hours later. That was the guy with the mullet. He asked about Ryan Schofield, Detective Schofield. But to kind of give you just a quick rundown of, I'll try to make it quick. You guys know I could talk forever. The call came in on the 28th here from a principal who had been notified by a liaison for the foreign exchange students and the parents had called that liaison from China and said, our child has been abducted. We received a photograph of him in a compromising position that would lead them to believe he was kidnapped. And we've now been receiving messages that they're going to harm him if we don't start sending money. So they notify the liaison that works through the schools, and then they notify the principal. The principal notifies us. We show up to the residence here in Riverdale, the host family, and they had heard from him in the morning, about 5:30 in the morning, and went about their day, maybe a little bit before 5:30, but went about their day doing what they do. They come home, maybe making dinner, and then police officer knocks on the door and says, "Hey, is Kai here?" That's the exchange student, and they're like, "Yeah, I think so," and they're like, "He's not." So they were pretty concerned that he's now gone, then learned this new information. From there, we were able to use them to communicate because they spoke Chinese with the family in China, and they showed us the photograph that was sent to them and portrayed what was going on. So we immediately put all boots on the ground at that time. This is on the 28th. Started canvassing the neighborhood, cameras. We ended up getting a doorbell camera right around the corner from where the kid lived, and it showed him leaving the house at about 5:30 in the morning, and with nothing, just a backpack. So we started doing phone records, phone pings to try to use the phone to track him and locate him, but the phone had been turned off about the time that he left. So where he was going, the phone was kind of useless from that point as far as there goes. Started looking at bank records. He didn't use a lot of his bank transactions, a few little things. But we did search our records, and we had been called on the 20th, which is about a week prior, on a report from Provo City where he was seen walking up the street with a generator, a sleeping bag, and a tent, going camping. So a concerned citizen called us in. Provo police responded, contacted him, said, "What's going on?" He says, "Oh, I'm just, kind of down. I'm not getting along with my host family. I tried to call my friends from Provo to go camping." He kind of feeds them a line. And he's like, "Well, this doesn't seem right." So he calls us. We go talk to the host family. They're like, "We want him home immediately." So they send him home on a train. He never discloses any of this stuff is going on. At that time, I think he was starting the plan of what was going on. So why that becomes significant is because when he leaves the house, we know he had this generator and all this camping gear. When we search the house, it's not there. And he didn't, and the camera on the 28th, he's not seen with it, which means he moved the camping gear. The generator was still there, but the tent and the sleeping bag had to have been moved prior to that. So we started going back and getting further warrants to track his every movement. Well, not really track his every movement. We hope to track his every movement, but we got a ping warrant for the last month. And what a ping does is, like, if I'm sitting here, it's going to ping off that tower. It'll put me somewhere near this building. It could be right in the building, or it could be a quarter mile away, but it'll kind of put you in the general area, and it'll reach out to make contact every couple minutes to connect, and it'll start dropping things. So we used that to go back, and what we found was the only place that he had visited was primarily Chase Bank down in Ogden. That was his banking, and just from there back to his house. The Provo thing was on the 20th, but on the 23rd he makes a visit to the bank, and while at the bank, he'd been there for about 20 minutes. The ping stopped, which tells us the phone has now been turned off. About 4 hours later, the pings start arriving again, which means he's now turned the phone on, and it's pinging around the mouth of the canyon there in Brigham City. And it pinged in that area for about 8 minutes. And then after that, about 45 minutes later, it pings in Riverdale. So as we start analyzing this, we're thinking, okay, the tent had to have been moved at some point. And this kind of fits the area like he was in Provo. So we're theorizing that he left from the bank, went up to the mountains there in Provo, was there setting up camp. When it was time to go home, he turned his phone on. And if you're near the mouth of the canyon, I suspect it'd take about 8 minutes to get an Uber driver. About that time, 45 minutes to get from the mouth of the canyon to his house. So that was like our big lead. Like we knew.
You meant Brigham City, though, right?
Right, today.
You said Provo, but it was Brigham at that point. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. It was Provo. I meant Brigham City. It's been a long week. Anyways, so Brigham City. As we got this information back, we didn't get that back till about, it was the 30th.
But he was in Provo at one point.
Yes, on the 20th.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry. The
Just
20th
making
is
sure.
when, that's what
Making
gave
sure
us
that
the
was
tip
intentional. Okay.
for the
generator
camping gear and
okay.
generator, and now it's missing.
Okay.
Okay. And then, interesting enough, it's pretty scary. So now we've learned through the FBI, there's this scheme that's out there. I've actually got emails from the UK and Australia from detectives that sent me news articles saying, hey, they'd caught the news at this point, clear across the world. And they're like, hey, we think this is a cyber kidnapping. The FBI's had a few cases as well. And so we're trying to get the parents to stop sending money and stop communicating. Just before we got this ping for Brigham City, the brother from China had arrived. So he got on a plane, come to help us. And he gets here and he's got the phone on speaker and he's listening to his parents speak to the kidnappers. And you hear a kid in the background screaming, ah! And he's telling us what they're saying. He's saying they're cutting his arm off right now if you don't send money. And so these parents are freaking out. And we're having to tell them, hey, at this point, we know that the phone conversation from the kidnapper is coming from China, and he's here in Utah. So we're having to show them, hey, this is just part of the scheme, the scam here, how they manipulate you. You've got to hang the phone up. You can't send money. And we were able to show them those articles, the FBI report, and then once they seen, oh wait, all these circumstances are the same, they stopped. But which was very difficult to convey to someone in China through translation that's concerned for their child. But we were able to do that. And so from there, we go up to Brigham City. We were up there all night. This is about 8, 9 o'clock at night. As soon as we got that coordinated of, okay, here's our lead. We had that search and rescue team up there with their drones flying all around. We had a pretty big geographical area to search.
You're talking Sardine Canyon?
Yeah, Sardine Canyon and along the front of Brigham City is where it was all pinging. So we're flying the drone around. We're seeing deer move around, all kinds of stuff, but we didn't find the
Infrared type stuff?
Yeah, thermal imager.
Thermal imager.
So it kind of detects heat and cold. If he had a campfire, it'd stun out like a sore thumb eventually, but still big area. He's in a tent, right? There's no heat source coming from the tent. He's up underneath the trees, so it's kind of tougher. So we thought, well, we better come back in the day because we're going to be able to cover quite a bit more ground. So we went back first thing the next day, had a helicopter from the DPS show up, and we had the drone team out. And me and Sergeant Engstrom, we let Detective Schofield take in the helicopter. There's one seat left. So he says, all right, let's draw a number. This kind of sounds familiar. What we're dealing with. Not gambling.
Yeah.
But so Ryan has the number in his head, Detective Schofield, and I drew the number to get in the helicopter, which I thought, this was great. So I got to go up in the helicopter. Well, I got to give credit to Sergeant Engstrom. Instead of just sitting down there hanging out at base camp, he started going up the canyon, searching along the riverbank there, down in this deep little gully. There's a creek down there, pretty heavily wooded. And he sees a spot where he can cross the river. And he just, for whatever reason, he chose that spot to go and starts hiking up the side of the mountain. And lo and behold, he comes across Kai in a tent about a quarter mile up the hill with helicopters and drones and everything else going around. Sergeant Eastern found him, and it was just amazing. So he goes, identifies himself. Kai comes out the tent, and he's relieved to see Sergeant Engstrom. In the tent, there's not much of anything. There's a sleep bag, heat blanket, a little bit of food, a couple cell phones that he was using to get manipulated. First thing you want to do is just call and make sure his family was okay. So we were able to facilitate that, get him a cheeseburger, bring him back here. We had people from the Chinese embassy here from Washington, D.C. last night, that we're just very grateful for the work our officers did. They did an amazing job. So they deserve all the credit. We had a lot of, the FBI was a great resource. They were available, took our calls. The Weber Search and Rescue from the Sheriff's Office was awesome. They spent all night up there and came out the next day. DPS.
Do you have an idea of how they got his contact info?
Um,
Is it like one of those,
I
they
think
were
it's-
on games and social media? Was it a
He
hack?
doesn't. We don't know exactly yet, but they were
Okay.
able to get his information, whether it's through social media, and actually call him. And they started off with, "Hey, you've committed all these crimes. Your family's going to be, we're gonna hurt your family if you don't pay us this money." They were posing as if they were from the government at first, and then it kind of just evolved. So at first he was doing this to protect his family. He'd actually taken about $30,000. He kept asking money from his parents, and so they were extorting him. And then when the parents cut off the money, they're like, "Okay, well now you need to do this, and take a picture of yourself as if you're kidnapped, and then you need to go isolate yourself." Now the question is why does he go in the woods? Well, as long as he's in the woods, not talking to police and not found, he's not talking to the family, which means they're still in fear that he's kidnapped and they can extort him for more money. So that's kind of the plot, is they say, you need to go as far away as you can. Don't talk to anyone. Turn your phone off. This is the only phone you can use, or else everyone's dead or harmed or whatever. So very, very unique case, but I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I was concerned, like I says, he had some warm clothes, but you just never know. This kid doesn't have experience. And he's a 17-year-old kid from another country. We were concerned he was going to freeze from hypothermia more than anything towards the end. So, any other questions? Sorry.
Oh, that's good.
That was great. Yeah.
But I got to give to our guys. We have a great police department here. They're just always willing to work 24/7, 365 days a year. It doesn't matter what it takes. And they've proven this over countless cases over the years. And they don't complain. They just do it. They go home, sleep for an hour, and come right back. And I'm like, "You're back. You didn't get any sleep." And I think they do that because, they know that they're appreciated by our community. We have great support from our residents. We have great support from a city council, from a city manager, from other departments. And, it's important that the guys feel that, because this is the results you get when you do. They're willing to, they're willing to die for you guys. And so I can't thank them enough for their hard work. And so if you get a chance, you see any of those guys, any of our officers, they all played a part. Just maybe give them a high five. It'll make their day. So anyways, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate our police department. They are amazing. And it's scary to think about the situations that they're in. One of the times when Chief Brinkman was really laying it on thick with me, trying to get a raise for his guys, he said, these guys we hire, we got to be able to hire good guys. And he said, you got to realize they're out there on the weekends at night, in the middle of the night, with a gun. If they make the wrong decision, it's going to be really bad for the city. It wasn't extortion, but it was. But it's serious. It's serious stuff that they deal with.
What was the shooting or whatever at Alta or?
Oh yeah, so that's kind of still open. I can't comment too much on that.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you a brief overview. Though it was so an individual was called in as a possible DUI into the county's jurisdiction. I think it was Uena, and then they had information that he may be going somewhere. I think in Roy, the Weber County Sheriff's Office was able to pick him up, and it turned into a pretty good pursuit pretty quick, where he was intentionally, they believe, ramming police vehicles. One of the deputies' vehicles, the airbags were deployed. I think I heard top speeds at one point were 127 miles per hour. And so he hit two vehicles and was targeting a third, which can't comment exactly why, because it's not ours, but one of the officers discharged his firearm. The good thing is none of the officers were hurt. Suspect is okay too, and in custody, so we can get him some help so he doesn't do anything crazy like this again. And for Riverdale's sake, none of our vehicles were damaged. So that's a good thing.
It wasn't one of our guys that had to shoot. It was somebody else.
Yeah, it wasn't one of our
Okay.
guys.
Yeah,
So
another
none of
guy.
our guys had to shoot. Matter of fact, after the shoot, one of our guys was the lead pursuit car, and then he crashed into another car after that. So, but like I said, all the officers involved, there was a lot of jurisdictions. Our main thing is when it came through, we were blocking intersections because we knew it was coming. So like when we have these pursuits come through our jurisdiction, we try to take safety measures for the general public. So we know it's coming down Riverdale Road. Our guys will start posting up, shutting down traffic so we don't have someone blow a red light and T-bone somebody. So that's kind of what they were doing. And then it ended up into a kind of a crash, and one of the guys was right there, and then he ended up getting involved. And ultimately, I think some of them assisted in getting them into custody as well. But
Who's got the lead on the investigation?
so that goes to our Weber County Critical Incident Team for the Weber County Attorney's Office. So anytime there's an officer-involved shooting, the Critical Incident Team will handle that. There's two main investigators that handle it, and then our guys are assigned to that team as well, our detectives. So if we're not involved, we would be assigned, but where we are somewhat involved, we probably weren't deployed, so they probably utilized Ogden detectives, North Ogden, Harrisville. It's the same team that we have for if there's a homicide. There's a task force that we can utilize from the county attorney's office and pull resources, detectives from every agency. So they have the lead on that, though.
I was going to tell Annie, though, I know why you asked that, but that does not mean we will not get sued. The last couple, we haven't participated, and we still get drug into these lawsuits.
Well,
That is
It's the world we live in anymore. If we're there, we're going to get
I'm
sued.
just glad one of our guys didn't have to shoot
I know.
or have
Yes.
to be
Or
on
we didn't
board.
have any property damage. I mean, it come out as well as we could, but we'll probably still get listed anymore. That's what happens. So
Yes,
unfortunately.
it's just anybody that's on scene usually gets named, every city. So, but like I says, I think the officers, without speculating too much, I think they were in fear for their safety and did what they thought they had to do without knowing all the facts. I'm just glad everyone's okay. I mean, everyone. Anything could have happened at those speeds on Riverdale Road. I'm just
Crazy.
grateful everyone's okay. So,
Yes.
thanks.
And if you get a chance to share any of the stuff, with the residents, I mean, let them know that we have awesome police. Yes, they are well compensated, but we need the best of the best, and that's why right there. I mean, I couldn't be prouder, to say that I'm the mayor of Riverdale, and our guys solved that in a couple of days. Mr. Brooks acts like he can't call me or tell me stuff. Like I was in a little house. I knew every single thing that was going on with that, and all my brothers and my dad, every couple of hours, they'd be like, I think it's strange the mayor hasn't commented on this. Like, I knew what was going on. They're like, a little bit later, I just think it's weird the mayor hasn't said anything on this. Like, I'm getting it all, okay? So don't be afraid to let me know. Like, yeah, first thing in the morning, wake up, getting ready. Has the mayor commented on that Chinese student thing yet? No.
Just so you guys know, I always work through Steve.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's easier for him to be able to be the point of contact for all of us. I always let him know, and then he always tried to update.
Yeah.
Well, and to be honest, it would be great as the council. I know not when you're right in the middle of it, but within a little bit of time, because if we start getting hit up by people and have no clue, it just makes it kind of hard and makes you feel kind of silly when someone's reaching out to you and you have to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
One thing we could do.
Not just on the big stuff. I mean, anything going on in the city that's big enough after hours that someone's going to try to get a quote,
Anything that we're going to do, like with the media, we could release to you guys before it goes to the media, so you at least see it before the media. So I could forward it to Steve, and if it's something really big and you wanted to know, we can always do that. Does that make sense? So you're seeing it before the media sees it.
Yeah, and not just like public safety, but just, any big stuff going on that it would be helpful. But
Need to get a scanner.
yeah, I did download the app after
did
his
you?
funeral. Yeah.
That's only going to be good for so long. They're encrypting all of our radios pretty soon.
Yeah.
You're gonna what?
Encrypt all the radios, which means you can't scan. That's been coming for a decade, though.
Yeah.
So, but it's really, literally just right around the corner.
And that would be nice for everybody, I think. Just remember, if Steve sends stuff to us, we need to it's not a conversation. It's just for information only. If you need to go on a different thread and ask him questions or whatever, but we don't want to start a meeting, But yeah, those things would be kind of nice, to be honest, I was waiting for Steve or someone that was like, I can't believe I haven't heard anything. This is a crazy thing. Like you said, it's hitting the national news, and all those groups that were involved. Like, it was a big story. So anyway, like I said, couldn't be prouder of our guys. So just maybe I'll come see him, come see him or something, and just let him know. That's to wrap it up that fast. that's incredible. I'll be bragging to all the mayors every time I see them. Anyway, they hassle us for stealing their guys. I'll say, well, why wouldn't they want to come work at Riverdale? So thank you so much, Chief. And what a great feather in your cap as the new chief for a first big case like that to just wrap it up. So thank you very much.
I had people saying, "Who's the guy carrying the tent?" New chief.
You can see your bald spots.
No drone shots. No drone shots. I did have a resident reach out. I guess he heard through the grapevine that they've been instructed to remove all the holes for the disc golf course. Is that brand new information? Like the construction company has taken the.
So I know they did mention they was going to start taking some trees out, but that's the last I heard from them. I did talk to one of the Disc Golf Association guys this morning, and they haven't removed any of them yet. He was going to talk to Sean Athy at Bach Homes and just see what was going, which ones they needed to or which ones was in the way. So none of that would be anything on city property.
Right.
But they have migrated onto private property. They've done it for
Yeah.
years, and we don't really have any control over that. But I do know they was talking about doing some cleanup through that tornado area and some of the trees down there where they would be working, and some of the baskets were in their way. So I know they did reach out to the disc golf people, but I just don't know how far along they've got on that with private property.
Yeah, we had a meeting, it's been a while, a couple months now, I think, with them, and they asked us about it at that time, and we told them exactly that that's a private entity, and if they're on your property, you do what you got to do. So they knew that.
They were very good.
They were really nice
they were
about it,
reaching
yeah.
out to them.
Yeah.
They wanted to talk to them. They didn't want to just go out there and do something. They wanted to talk to somebody and make sure they could save their baskets. And I hadn't heard anything else about it. And
Yeah.
then this morning, the disc golf guy, I think it was Lance from Northern Utah Disc Golf, called me. And so I got him in touch with Sean Athy at Bach Homes, and that's the last I've heard today. But that was just this morning.
And I've just been kind of telling them as they reached out to me over the months, I don't think anything's coming with that for a while. So I feel a little bit bad, because now, So anyway, I'm surprised they're doing that, to be honest. I kind of thought that was just kind of sitting on that. So, but
Are they doing anything with the bridge? Or are they just cleaning up the property?
I think they're just, last time we talked to them, they was talking about just starting to clean up their property. And I know they're still working on the bridge part of it, with contractors and stuff, but we haven't seen anything new that way.
and the disc golf guys that I talked to, they definitely know the situation. They were just hoping.
Oh, they all do.
They know it. They know it's
know
on
that
private, but they were just hoping that maybe it would stick
So when they
around.
originally came in and asked the city council to put baskets on city property. I think now they are about 50-50. I think they probably have about 9 holes on city property, probably 9 holes that they migrated onto somebody else's property, and they've been out of sight, out of mind per se, because I think just even for liability reasons, a lot of times people might have stopped that. But they've had a pretty good run down there. And I will give it Bach Homes. Like he said right up front, he said, I'm going to contact him. And apparently he had, because this guy was trying to find.
Yeah, it's made its way back through for sure.
But yeah, they was
Okay.
wanting to make sure they talked to him. They didn't want to just have them show up and have the baskets gone, and they didn't want to take their baskets and stuff. So
Someone had asked me this weekend about equipment moving behind crab trees. Has there been any updates on?
I've been getting a lot of questions
That-
about that too.
Isn't that
We've
true?
had a lot of questions about that ourselves. We'll have to be. I know Sean's guys were reaching out to him today, and Mike's going to have to. We're not really sure what they're doing, to be honest with you,
like
other than they're
stripping-
tracking a lot of mud onto our road,
Yeah,
and
they're stripping the topsoil.
yeah.
They don't have permits or anything.
No,
like
every
that.
time we've talked to them, they just said they're just cleaning stuff up, but they're bringing in dirt and hauling dirt out. We're not really sure what they're
over
doing.
last week, I'm sure everybody's seen the tracking, so that's a red flag to us. And then also they're, in our opinion now, they're over the acre that can be disturbed. And so Travis, the guy that does our stormwater for us, he reached out to him today, talked to Troy. So hopefully we get some movement on that. It's not that they can't do it, it's just that there's a process. So we have reached out to them. we'll see where that goes tomorrow. We're going to follow up with an email tomorrow morning. We did have a phone call. We didn't want to just email blast them, so we did a phone conversation with them today, and then we'll reach back out with the email tomorrow to make it more formal, and then just work through the process on that as far as our ordinance, then also the state law. So.
Okay.
I could just inform you, Mayor, you're not aware of this, and we had a meeting with Ogden City today in regards to our West Bench stuff, and I think that one went well as well. I think they were a little surprised, but in a good way, and I think they recognized their concerns where that could increase traffic on 4400 and the airport road, and they informed us in that meeting that they have a big project coming in. It's going to bring in 1,000 jobs, so it kind of raised the level of all this traffic. Yeah. It's actually on the over across from the Omega building. They're on that corner. They've got a big project on 1900. But all of this is impacting, and their words were exactly, this is a regional issue here. So, I mean, it's good that these people are starting to kind of see our concerns, and so I think our efforts in reaching out to these people, it's getting the message out if nothing else. So I also know that they were reaching out to some various big playing legislators this week. America First is. So I think all that's heading in the right direction. We're trying to get those ducks lined up and seeing if we can't get some help and stuff on those bridges in particular. We stress the importance of that and how urgent that is. And so they recognize that. And they even brought up a couple of things about Parker Drive and the bridge on Parker Drive. So that was kind of refreshing too to hear that UDOT's starting to put some heat on them. They've got to start looking at that one and getting that one replaced down there north of you guys out there on the north end. So it was overall, I think, a pretty good meeting. Most of these meetings have been well received. So we'll see if we can.
Have you guys talked to Roy? Is
Not-
it,
well-
the roundabout right there, is that the roundabout? Roy?
Right. We've got to meet with Roy officially. The mayor's talked to Mayor Dandoy out there, so he's aware of it, but we haven't sat down with him. I just happened to bump into her last week at my city manager's meeting and said, hey, can you give me some time? I gotta just inform you of something here. And that's kind of what we told him. We're not asking for any favors or anything. We're just telling you this is what's happening. You need to be aware of this because it could be impacting on you guys.
Because if they've talked about, UDOT's talked about taking out the two
Right.
roundabouts at that side, they're the third.
Right. And that one hasn't been on the plans, but the 4400 stretch right there is heading west is all Roy. So Roy and Ogden right there. So they're important players in this thing. So we'll be meeting with them soon too. I'll probably call their manager tomorrow and see if I can't get something set up with them.
Weaver County's a little chunk right in there too.
Right.
The bridge.
On that end of that bridge, it's all Weaver County. So. And we have met with them. We met with them, was it last week or the week before? Had a really good meeting down there with them. We haven't officially met with the commissioners, but we met with a lot of the other people involved in some of the organizations and funding sources and stuff. So that's all moving forward. It's just slow, and if they weren't so rushing on these bridges, that's just a nightmare right now, having to deal with that. But I think the legislative route's the way to go on that one, to put UDOT, put some brakes on that project a little bit.
Legislative to get money or to direct or dictate?
Both. Slow that thing down a little bit, or to get some money and redo those. But we did have that meeting with UDOT, and that one went well. At least Rob wanted to go back and look at it. Rob's the Region 1 director, and take a look at these things. He wasn't, I don't think, fully aware of the impact of it, but he is now. And so at the end of that meeting, he just said, we need to put some pencils and paper here together and look at this again. So I'm hoping we can do something. I don't know. The legislature's got the money if they would send it this way, but we're working every angle we can on that to make that work and get that a smooth project. And
Can I just ask a quick question? Okay, the legislative district for Mary Lou and Katie is 4,400 south and north.
right.
How far west does that go? Do you know off the top of your head?
Airport Road. And
Does she not go into Roy?
Airport Road, that's where Musselman takes over.
Oh, is it?
She
Okay.
said that.
Oh, okay.
Airport Road's the break, and then Calvin Musselman takes over west of that.
All right, so there's potentially, what, 4 or 5?
4 or 5 of them, yeah.
Yeah.
5 to fight that good.
And like Alan said, Musselman's trying to become the new senator. So, for
Who?
that district.
Musselman.
Al
Musselman.
Musselman.
Yeah, Musselman.
He's the representative we're just talking about.
Oh.
On his Christmas card,
He's a representative right now, and he'll almost guaranteed to be at that breakfast. He's always there. So
he
I'll be there.
Good, be there.
Did you say that's on Saturday?
No, it's on a
It's on
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday. He somewhat announced, well, not somewhat announced, he announced he was gonna run for Senate.
I don't know him, but anyway, okay.
Well, and I appreciate the city for all they've been doing. We've been at a bunch of meetings, and every city or every entity we go to is like, oh yeah, we have huge plans for this area or that area, and it's like, well, we all need to get together and make sure everybody knows this, you know. And so, one funny side note is, we pulled together a meeting with UDOT and America First, and just pulled it together as fast as we could, all these people, and had a great meeting, and they said, oh yeah, Mayor Dando's already been out here and met with us. And I was just like, how in the world did he get out here? Because I barely mentioned it to him, and he'd already had a meeting with UDOT. So it's kind of funny. But whatever, that's good. It benefits us too.
He's probably got an inside scoop with all the stuff that's going on in
He
Riverdale.
does. I wonder if he said, hey, let's talk about 5600, and then in that meeting he brought it up. But it's the more people we can get on board, the better. Like, whether it's the Beaver County, Ogden City, Roy, the state, everybody, we're trying to get them all in. So
So Ogden said today that they would go to UDOT too, is the way I took it. They're going
Good.
to go set something
that's
up
good.
with
We've got to all try to pull together. Because just a reminder, they're trying to replace the bridge on 4400 over I-15 with a bridge that's exactly the same. And then they're trying to do the underpass under 84 exactly the same. And we're like, this is not going to work. Like, and they're like, got it planned for this fall. Like, they're like, oh, we already got it planned. We're doing it. You know, we're like, and then they're not going to touch it for 50 years.
Even with what Ogden City said today, even throw America First off the table. With
Right.
what Ogden City said today,
Yeah.
I don't think the bridge works with what Ogden has
Yeah.
going.
Did they say what their client is or the
It
business
was
is?
pretty vague about
Yeah, they didn't say. They just said 1,000 jobs. So
We're trying to get them to do a bigger bridge. So anyway,
Well, and if they could do something by the river too,
yeah.
I mean, widen that'd alleviate a bunch of our flooding stuff. If they could
Yeah.
open that
Yeah.
Raise
way.
it up a little bit too.
the way I took it from the meeting today. So the UDOT comes out and does bridge inspections on city-owned bridges. So they come and inspect our bridge here. It's like every other year.
What, that, over the viaduct?
Just any bridge that you have over a river that's a local entity-owned bridge.
Just our little
So
one here.
the one on Parker Drive is in Ogden City.
Okay.
So I'm taking it that they just had their bridge inspection, and it did not go very well.
It
which we all
doesn't. It
knew
doesn't
for a
look
while.
like it would go very well.
That's good. That's great.
yeah,
Yes, it sounds like
Yeah.
immediately, like in the very, very near future, there's going to be a really quick load restriction on it,
Good.
and then some planning to do something different with it. So
I expressed our concerns every spring, the
That's
flooding,
the
and
one that backs up.
right,
Yeah.
right.
By the storage units.
Yeah.
The good thing is the new guy that's in charge of this stuff for Ogden City is their former engineer that was over there flooding. So he knows this stuff really well, and he's the one that brought it up today. So he wasn't surprised by anything we said. He knew exactly what we were talking about. So
And they have a new mayor that is
yeah,
going to be pretty.
he was
you know,
sworn in
pretty
today.
gung-
In
gung-ho
fact,
and-
the city manager, while we were trying to have this meeting, she's coming in and out because the new people were getting sworn in, and so it was really hectic. But she was gracious enough to fit us in there, so it went well overall.
Good. Okay.
When we need to get Commissioner Harvey too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we can get Harvey, but I want to meet with all
Wait,
three of them.
you're tight with Harvey, aren't you?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
is. Very
Well, not tight.
We go back a ways.
Isn't all three of them impacted? I mean, why just
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Well, they're heavily impacted. That
yeah.
that one side of that bridge is theirs. So
Well, Harvey and Brooks grew up together. So.
I know. And I see him at meetings, and I see him all the time. But
Well, then give it to him when you're.
yeah.
no, no.
Oh, he was headed into the bathroom, that thing where we hang out together, and I said something about Steve, and he didn't have to go to the bathroom that bad. Then he'd come back out and razz me about
Yeah,
it.
he will.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Seeing none, we need a motion to adjourn.
I moved.
Motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say yes. Yes. We are adjourned. All right. Thank you.
Is that off?
Thanks, Chief.
Appreciate it.
Get your phone number.
Yeah, absolutely. 801.
Tell me when it's off, please.